Now, the US President Donald Trump has appeared to open the door to trade talks with Australia. When departing for a rally to mark 100 days in office, Trump acknowledged that Australia has been calling about his tariffs, and he says he's ready to talk.
Will you speak to the Prime Minister of Australia at all?
Please.
Mr. Trump.
You make the call.
The Australian Prime Minister is having an election this weekend. Will you speak to him about trade?
They are calling and I will be talking to him, yes.
They are calling and he will be talking to him. Well, for more, our political reporter Olivia Casely joins us from Parliament House. G'day, Liv. The Treasurer has responded to this comment from Donald Trump. Tell us, what's he had to say?
I think more generally, we've got to see that Donald Trump has loomed pretty larger over the Australian election campaign. And we've seen Labor really using that to its advantage, trying to cable tie Peter Dutton, if you like, to the US president and sort of say to voters that at this time of a global uncertainty, don't take the risk of electing the opposition leader, an unknown quantity, as Prime Minister. Now, we've seen this focus on this communication between the White House and Australia. So the coalition says that the Albanese government has failed to secure important phone calls with Donald Trump and try to carve out some exemptions from, as we know, these sweeping tariffs that have been applied to countries across the world, including Australia and US allies. The coalition contends that they'd be better equipped at dealing with the Trump administration 2.0. And as we know, when a former Prime Minister Malcolm Turnbull was at the helm during the Trump administration 1.0, he did manage to get some of those trade carve-out exemptions. Ultimately, this has been a bit of a political flashpoint this week, particularly after Anthony Albanese at the leaders' debate on Sunday suggested that he didn't think that Donald Trump had a mobile phone. This is a claim, of course, that doesn't bear up, but ultimately it does draw the spotlight, you've got to say, on the connections or the communication between the two countries. The Treasurer this morning was asked about this and his explanation is here.
We're engaging with our counterparts in the US, as the Australian people would expect us to. We're speaking up for and standing up for our national economic interest. That's been the case for some months.
So today, both leaders, they'll be out campaigning across the country, trying to draw attention back to domestic issues. So clearly, the Albanese government is happy with the level of communication between the United States and Australia, but the coalition will no doubt seek to continue to heap pressure on them over this issue. Interestingly, this morning, we also now know that 4 million Australians have cast their ballots in pre-polling, and this has only been available to voters for about 2 weeks ago. 2 weeks now, I should say. This is an extraordinary early turnout ahead of the official election day this Saturday.
Yeah, it is. Thank you for that, Olivia. And we will have the Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor on the program in about 10 minutes or so.
Prosecutors are set to outline their case against accused triple murderer Erin Patterson today as opening arguments in the highly anticipated trial begin. Ms. Patterson is charged with murdering 3 of her relatives and trying to kill another with a beef Wellington laced allegedly with poisonous mushrooms nearly 2 years ago. She's pleaded not guilty and has always maintained her innocence. For more, we're joined by Kristian Silva, the ABC's court reporter and host of the Mushroom Case Daily podcast. Good morning to you, Kristian. There was a major development in the case yesterday.
Good morning, Catherine and James. And yes, there's never a dull day in court. Yesterday, the jury was told that attempted murder charges that Erin Patterson was facing have been dropped, and these charges related to her estranged husband, Simon Patterson. Now, just to clarify, this case here in Morwell centres around a lunch that was held at Erin Patterson's house in July 2023, the deaths of 3 of her relatives and the serious illness that another one faced after attending this lunch. Those charges are still very much going ahead and they're the focus of this trial. The other major thing that came out in court yesterday was the jury was picked. Yesterday morning, there were about 120 potential jurors who came to the Latrobe Valley Law Courts, and that number was whittled down to 15 yesterday. Of that 15, a final 12 will have the final say at the end of the case when all the evidence is heard. Those jury members yesterday were given some instructions by the trial judge, Justice Christopher Beale. In summary, he told them to weigh up the evidence dispassionately, to use their heads and not their hearts. And he also said, given the intense media interest and coverage of this case, to avoid those reports. Don't watch stories about the case on TV, or if you see a story in the newspaper, flip past it. The judge very keen to tell the jury to put all of that external noise out of their minds.
It's certainly getting massive coverage. Kristian, what can we expect today?
Catherine, this morning prosecutors are set to outline the allegations against Miss Patterson in relation to this fatal lunch where her in-laws Don and Gail Patterson died, as well as Gail's sister Heather Wilkinson. Ian Wilkinson was the only survivor of the lunch. He is Heather's husband. So obviously we know a little bit about the background of this case. It centres around an allegedly poisonous beef Wellington with death cap mushrooms. But prosecutors today are going to really outline the allegations in much more detail. Obviously, there was a very detailed police investigation that took place, so we should expect to hear a lot of new information come out. Yesterday, the judge gave the jury some clues about what is set to come. Yesterday, the judge actually told the jury that there were 5 individual beef Wellingtons that had been served up at this lunch. What else have we got? The defence will also have a chance to respond. That response usually doesn't go for too long at this stage of the trial. But Catherine, opening day of a trial is always a massive, massive moment, and no doubt there will be a lot of attention on today's proceedings.
I certainly will. Thanks, Kristian.
Let's get you some more news now. And the inquest into the Bondi Junction stabbings has heard from the police inspector who shot dead Joel Couchy, the man responsible for killing 6 shoppers. Inspector Amy Scott told the court that she felt nauseous running into the centre alone, saying she'd resigned herself to the fact that she was probably going to die. Some of the paramedics who were the first at the scene will give evidence later today.
The Northern Territory Government is urgently introducing new bail laws to Parliament today. The alleged murder of shopkeeper Linford Fyke by a man on bail has prompted the government to announce the laws and recall Parliament. Chief Minister Leah Finocchiaro says the new laws would require judges to consider community safety before considering other bail factors.
The Adelaide Hills Council says it is surprised by reports of water theft in the region. 2 neighbours say they were robbed of nearly 200,000 litres of water in the early hours of Tuesday morning. The council says the ongoing drought conditions may have motivated the crimes. SA Police are now investigating.
Canada's main opposition leader has lost his seat after his Conservative Party was beaten by the incumbent Liberal Party in the Canadian election. Although public broadcaster CBC projects the party has failed to win an outright majority, the Liberals were well behind in opinion polls at the start of the year before Mark Carney became leader and US President Donald Trump began threatening Canada with tariffs and annexation.